Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Pure Joy Podcast. This is your host, Elaina Love, and I'm here today with a good friend and amazing woman, Regina Callahan. Hi, Regina, welcome.
Hi, good morning. Thank you.
So great to have you on. I've been wanting to do this with you for quite a while now. For those of you guys listening, Regina, I'm a big fan of Regina. She's an amazing craniosacral therapist and more. So that's why I wanted to have you on today, Regina. I just wanted to find out I want people to know about you and the work you do, because I feel like there's so many people that go to chiropractors and are just trying to fix their chronic pain. And the stories you've told me and even the work you've done with me, like I feel like it really is miraculous. And I know there's so much more to you than just that. Like you teach mindfulness courses. So I'd love to just kind of get into a little bit about you and like your story and what got you interested in this.
Okay, great. Well, I'll give you a little bit of who I am. There are so many, I feel like I wear so many different hats. So I've been doing healing work for almost 35 years. I got introduced to massage early on in my life and became a massage therapist and studied and had just some amazing teachers. So been doing craniosacral work and different types of manual therapies and body work. And much earlier on, my specialty was chronic pain and treating chronic pain and injuries. And I've also practiced meditation and mindfulness for probably 40 years. So the work just kind of all blends together now. You really can't separate them out. So it's a lot of what I bring to the work is that kind of that grounded presence. And so even though I might be working with chronic pain and injuries, what I'm doing is kind of getting into the foundation of somebody's health. So that's one of the basic foundations of craniosacral work, is that we're working with the inherent health that's always in the system. And so I come in and I kind of get underneath that foundation and support it. And it, in a way, it's really supporting it through stillness and quiet and presence. So yeah, I've spent many years also playing out in the wilderness, backpacking and mountain biking, and I was a river guide for a while. So there's all these aspects of, I'll say, the elements that come in that inform my work and how I work. And yeah, so that's kind of me in a nutshell. Oh, I also run a school. That's another important hat that I wear, is I run a school, Still Mountain Healer. It's a school for craniosacral studies. So I offer certification program and some mentorship classes, and love to just really offer that work. And I'll say, as everything blends together, that's the foundation of the teaching that I do, brings in mindfulness and meditation and stillness as the base of how, I'll say, the work is transmitted to the students. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I love everything you said about that, because I feel like your life experience has created you to be this person who you are now and the healer that you are, versus like when you were 30, like having these life experiences of like what you said about being in nature and meditation. And I know that you go to meditation retreats and you're really like, you spend a lot of time and energy like being the best person you can be, like from what I know about you. And I think that really goes into the work you do.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the first time you ever put your hands on me was actually, we met at Ecstatic Dance, and you just said, hey, I think I was laying down. You said, can I just put my hands on your head? And there was something about your touch. Like, and I've had a lot of massages, and I'm not really honestly a big fan of massages, because I feel like I can read people's energy so well that if their mind is wandering or they're not in the right place, it's like, oh, I don't know, this isn't working for me. So like something about your presence, like you said, was huge. It was just this, oh wow. Like, and then I asked you, I said, hey, tell me more about what you do, and can I book a session with you? And then like I've had chronic shoulder pain, and often on my lower back will go out because of an old injury. It's like a 5-year-old injury. And every time I go to you, I feel like there's this whole reset that happens. And so just for people listening that have never been, I would love, like, talk about what you do. Like when I go there and lay on the table, so people, or if they're wondering, it's not like you're massaging me and like working the muscles. You just put your hands, like whether it's on my skull and like under, you know, like really digging your fingers in, or under my sacrum or wherever it is. And you could leave it there for a really long time. And a lot of times I just pass out because my body is so relaxed. But,
Mhm.
and then I'm like, Regina, the pain's gone. Like it worked. So I
Great.
know there's so much subtlety to what you do, but you just kind of explain a little bit maybe what about what you're doing in that 1 hour session.
Yeah. So I'll say craniosacral is a little bit of a mystery. You know, there's a magic to it. But basically, we're tuning into a rhythm that's inherent within the brain, spinal cord, cerebral spinal fluid. And that wave or rhythms expressed in all the tissues of the body. So when I put my hands on, I'm sensing into where the energy's flowing, where the energy's not flowing. And the beautiful thing about that work is that it works so closely with the nervous system. So it, in a way, rather like sometimes deep tissue massage or, you know, heavier kinds of body work, there's a level of defense that comes up in the body. So you're having to work against that. But I say that craniosacral kind of slips in the back door, you know, and because it's so gentle and presence is the base of the work, I'm tuning into this like subtle life force energy, basically, that's animating your entire being. And so when I'm, how do I say, settled in my own nervous system and present to that life spark, we call it the breath of life. And then I let that inform how I move into the session. And I'll put my hands, I do this a lot, put my hands under certain structures and basically I'm giving it support. And so then, because I'm in a grounded present state, your nervous system then starts to vibrate to the level, that kind of depth, deeper presence state. It has a lot to do with brain waves and nervous system regulation. I mean, I could go into the physiology of it, but in a way, it's like I'll say a transmission of my calm nervous system to then allowing your nervous system to come to a calm place. And then having my hands in certain places, it gives the body support. So I take over the work that your body is already doing. When you've had an injury, your body's like bracing and holding on to protect you. And so if I come up and support you, then your body can go, oh, thank you. And it can start to find its way back into balance. So yeah, that's kind of the simplest.
That's it. And one thing I love about you is your presence. Like I always feel that with you, like this sense of underlying calmness and groundedness. And I'm sure it's not always happening 100% of the time, but when I'm around you, I've noticed that. And like you said, it's so interesting how we affect each other. Our resonance, our energy
Mhm.
affects everything around us. And it's just such a perfect example of how that works. Like we don't know how it works, but it works. And like
Mhm.
just our, I can imagine our energy systems almost like overlapping. But I'm guessing also that the client you're working with has to be willing, like, to allow that to happen, right? In some kind of way, like they have to relax into it.
I'll say to some degree, I think it surprises a lot of clients, especially if they have, they're coming in chronic pain and there's a level of just ongoing tension with them. A lot of times they're quite surprised at how deeply they relax. Because it is, as I said, kind of slipping in the back door. It's not like I'm saying to you, relax, that does nothing. It's like, okay, how can I bring my grounded, calm state, and how can that inform their being into dropping? There's this great Zen, I think it's a Zen saying, that's relaxation is who you are, tension is who you think you are. And so if I tap into the relaxation that they are at in the core of their being, then that part of them starts to go, oh yeah, that's right. I actually am relaxation, and that some layers can start to kind of fall away. So yeah.
That's it. Like, I'm just imagining this person, like, that's, you meet these people that are super stressed out, and for good reason, like, no judgment, like they're a mom or they're running a household or whatever, and they just need someone to hold this energetic space for them, that it's almost like a child, like, it's all going to be okay. Like,
Mm-hmm.
makes me almost want to tear up, because so many people need that in life. Like, what you do, and that's why I wanted to talk to you, like, what you do is so important in the world, because so many of us are running around, especially when you're single, or you don't feel like you're getting that human touch a lot, or, you're just running around the world, like, with all these things in your mind of what you've got to do. And then, so to be able to drop into a space just for an hour, hour and a half, and like, just like reset.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad that you teach this too, because the more people doing this out in the world, the better.
I agree.
Sure.
I agree. Our culture is just so over scheduled and busy, and busy is very over glorified, and so I'm always encouraging people to find, just even if it's a little bit of quietude every day, to just let their nervous system settle down. We're really in a chronic hyper nervous system state these days. Our sympathetic nervous systems are so off the charts, and especially this past year, I've seen so much the level of anxiety and depression and nervous system dysregulation like I have never seen before. So
how does that show up in people, like, when all those things are going on in their minds?
A lot of anxiety, a lot of insomnia, just like unsettled. I've had clients come in and they're like, I don't know what I need. Just like calm me down, So, so I've really had to pull out a lot of extra tools this year, more having to do with nervous system regulation. So a lot of breath work and a lot of sort of guided, I'll call it guided imagery, but I don't do a lot of guided imagery, but, just helping people learn how to calm their nervous systems down. So not just, coming to me to do it, but, so they can learn how to do this all day long.
Which is why you started your mindfulness course, and you're offering now, like, what, a 6-week mindfulness course?
It's a 7-week. Yeah. I've dabbled teaching mindfulness and meditation for many, many years, but when the major shutdown happened in March, and I was observing just how freaked out people were by the whole thing, it really struck me that, people need tools, that it's really important to, I felt like I had spent 40 years training for this year. So I felt like it was very timely to start offering some of these tools and practices so people could really start cultivating that kind of inner calm, I sometimes think of it like a sailboat, has a keel. And even though the winds and the seas might send the sailboat tilting one side to the other, there's still that even keel that that really anchors the boat. And the same with some of these mindfulness practices is that it brings you this anchor, or this, I always say, weebles wobbles, but they don't fall down. It gives you that grounded base, so that when life comes at you, and life will come at you, you fall to one side, but then you can come back in, because you've cultivated that, I'll say that simple taproot of groundedness, that then it makes it easier to navigate through life. And mindfulness has the world of mindfulness has so many awesome tools and practices, and they're simple and they're very effective, but and I mean, I use them all day long. I feel like in a way that's how I move through life now, is from that world of, I'll call it mindfulness, but it's, yeah.
Presence. Yeah.
Presence, but then there's tools, so like if something happens that triggers my nervous system, you say something to me that hurts my feelings and I'm like start to get all triggered. There are tools that I can do to kind of tune back in and see what's arising, what's getting triggered, and tend to it, so that then I'm not coming back defensively to you, or I just feel like I can regulate my nervous system without being reactive. I'm more responsive than reactive. So,
and that makes me think of, well, I would love to hear some things offhand that people can do, like without obviously teaching your whole course, but like, what are some things you do on a regular basis that you feel are really good tools that people can start with?
Oh God, there's so many to choose from. Probably the one that I do quite regularly is, it's called soften, soothe, allow. And so let's say something occurs that triggers my nervous system. And, I start to feel upset about something, angry or tense or impatient. You could actually just take your hand and put it over your heart, which is a very soothing gesture. But then just doing this alone has physiological shifts in the brain. It starts to calm the nervous system down. But then you go through a little observation. It's almost like you step back a little bit from the situation, and you look at what are the thoughts floating through your head. And now this is all done from a non-judgmental, you're like the little clouds of thoughts. She shouldn't have said that to me. That was mean. I feel really hurt, then what's the emotion? Yeah, I feel hurt. I feel really sad. And then what's the physical sensation? I feel a tightening in my chest, or my jaw feels tight. So you're observing those different levels of thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations. And then you soothe it. It's almost like you're going like this to yourself, like, oh, sweetheart, that was really hard to hear. And I'm doing this all internally. You might not know I'm doing it, but this is what's happening, is I'm soothing those hurt feelings. So in a way, I'm being like the best mama I could possibly be to myself, giving myself self-compassion and love. And then, and you'll notice that there's a softening in the nervous system. And this could happen, this could occur in a matter of seconds, but in the beginning, give it time to recognize the different steps. But yeah, so that's one of the tools. And I literally use that. I mean, it's accessible to me all day long. Like now I've learned, it's just almost like, oh, sweetheart, this is hard.
It's almost like your go-to, like, oh, if something comes up before you even know what it is putting your hand on your chest.
Yeah.
I like
that. And sometimes you might not notice, but I'll slide it underneath my underneath my scarf and have my hand here. Yeah, so you don't know I'm doing it, but I'm soothing myself. And
And I love that, because you can do that anywhere, like even, in your car, someone cuts you off. Oh, wow. I love that. And that's such a simple thing. And I love that third part you said about what does it feel like in the body, because I think that's the step that a lot of people skip. I had someone do that with me once. I was upset about something, and I was actually at a festival, and I came to him and I was like crying, and I was like, I'm really upset about this. And he's like, where do you feel it in your body? And it was like, it took me out of my mind of like reeling and then back into my body. So boy, just that alone. And I mean, everything you do is kind of bringing people back into their body.
And embodiment's where it's at, man.
I use that phrase, like I can feel when people are out of their body. I'm like, get back in your body. Like I'll think it in my mind, like, or like I want to go and put my hand on their lower back, like, And I need someone to do it to me sometimes, like get back in your body, because we're out there like floating around in our thoughts somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And this, I mean, if you notice, if you just put your hand here, it brings the attention back to the body, and, you know, literally feeling the weight of the hand, the warmth of the hand,
And
can
you've got your
really,
hand on your chest for people listening.
yeah, yeah. Or you could put your hand on your belly, like in your solar plexus area. That's another, and rub the belly, you know, is another way. There's common area, you know, of nervous system regulation. But either one, you know, can really just start to drop the nervous system. You know, you can drop back into the body. And because if you notice that when you're upset about something, you're up here in your head and the thoughts are swirling and it's a swimmy head kind of feeling. But when you drop down, rubbing the belly or you know, put a hand on the chest, it starts to bring the energy down lower. And so then you can be more responsive, and you can be more, I'll say, more grounded. But then also, because you've dropped the energy down, then you can be a little more responsive, instead of going, you shouldn't have done that, or making, you know, some kind of blaming, you know, kind of gesture or words that you'll later regret. You can calm your nervous system and choose words that would be more appropriate to the situation.
Right.
Yeah.
And even for ourselves, because we go into so much self-blame and judgment, whether it's an action that we did and or didn't do, like, oh, you should have gotten up earlier because now you missed this, or you should have had that food, or whatever, you know, you shouldn't have cut that person off. So like,
Right.
we can really practice this. And I think it starts with us, right? Because how are we expected to be compassionate and loving and non-judgmental towards others when we're constantly in our head? And I think it's till age 7 that everything our parents say to us, it becomes part of who we are. So we're doing it without even realizing it. So
Yeah.
like
We're reparenting ourselves with some of these gestures, you know. And you mentioned the compassion. Some of the world of mindfulness talks a lot about self-compassion. And I'll say, for me, when I learned of self-compassion, that was definitely was not my go-to in the past. But when I started doing a lot of, you know, sending love inward, and like that softens, soothe, allow, of like, oh, sweetie, yeah, that was hard. It changed everything. I mean, literally changed everything. Just the way that I moved through life, the way that I viewed myself, experienced my inner world, and how I viewed other people. And it was powerful, that turnaround, just by these simple gestures of turning love inward.
yeah.
So powerful.
Really, I'm feeling myself tearing up because I feel like I mean, myself included, I practice mindfulness, I practice meditation. I feel like I'm trying to be as present as possible, and I miss it sometimes. I miss that, like, I need compassion. It's like, it's got to start with me before I even leave my bedroom, you know, like,
Yep.
how
Mm-hmm.
are you doing? And like, it's okay. And yeah, wow.
Yeah.
I think the world could be a completely different place if everybody started with just self-love.
Yeah.
So much of what's happening in the world, especially like you mentioned this last year, is everybody freaking out and being afraid, and like they're forgetting to like soothe themselves and love
Mm-hmm.
themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some days it feels like, some days are, you know, I keep saying, I'm just riding the waves of life, you know. Some days I'm very buoyed up and I feel good and I'm moving through. And then other days it's just like, I don't know whether, you know, it could be something that's happening in my life. It could be the collective consciousness. But a lot of times I spend almost the whole day just kind of going, yeah, this is you know, we're down in the low waves now. And
Like
so
petting yourself all day, basically.
no,
Well, I mean, do you know much about biorhythms?
a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about them, but when you said that, it reminds me that all of us, like, we were talking right before I hit record, like some days I'm like you said, on top of the world, and I just feel great, and there's no particular reason. And then other days, and or it'll extend for a few days or a week, where I'm like, what the heck? Like, I'm just in the dumps. And I know biorhythms, like we all are on these cycles, and it might be a collective, like you said, like we're all in a collective energy, like where we're up and down. But yeah, that's just, I guess what I realized from journaling is I'll look back and go, oh yeah, I was in a crappy mood back, blah, 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 those days. And now look at me. Like, so we know that we're going to go in waves and in cycles. And that gives me a lot of hope.
Yeah. Yeah.
Days that I'm not there.
This, this too shall pass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And so let's talk a little bit about something like I know you do meditation retreats, like you go to, tell me like what it is, like what got you into it, and like what has been, like why are you so passionate about it?
I feel like I was a monk in another life or something. I came out into the world just craving quiet and quietude. And it's hard to say whether that was, a byproduct of being in a family and, in a very kind of tight space. We lived in a very tiny house. I lived in a house with an upstairs apartment. One bedroom was my brother, my sister, and my grandfather, and the other bedroom was me and my sister and my mother and my father. And so in this tiny little space. And so, yeah, I always felt like I needed more quiet. And so I found that when I discovered through Girl Scouts, going into, we would go camping and I would just be like, oh, wow, like the trees and the quiet and the sounds. And then I discovered backpacking and being in the mountains. And then somewhere along the line, I think I got introduced to TM, Transcendental Meditation, in college. And I just was really drawn to that world. For one, there was quietude, but there was something that was really compelling for me. Like, it's hard to say, like some discovery that I felt like I needed to make with through this process of meditation. So then I started going to meditation retreats, and I've been on many meditation retreats. And I find, so I'll say the byproduct of the meditations retreats has been, it's hard to describe it. I'll say just the recognition of what my true nature is. So different, aside from my personality and my identities, that there's a deep sense of that grounded, I'll say grounded being that I am, that you are, that we're all, that connects us all. And that's been what was discovered through the process of finding that quietude. And I find now, I love meditation retreat, but I also find that when I can really access it when I'm out in the wilds. So whether it's hiking or skiing, you and I have cross-country skied together. And, when you really just are out there in the expanse of trees and quiet and bird sounds and wind, and, that's, I don't know, the sense of, it's kind of hard to describe, but that sense of that this is, we are all of this. And yeah.
I think the nature part is so important for me anyway. And that's why I love living somewhere where I can get out in nature. Like I got out this morning, I wanted to do a sunrise run. I missed it a little bit, but something about just, and we know this from, they call it forest bathing, from our eyes viewing nature and then hearing, like you said, the sounds like of the ducks or the birds or the water flowing, or in snow. What I love is the silence out there.
Yeah.
Everything's so quiet. But like that's the perfect, if someone's listening and they're like, I'm not a meditator, like just start with getting in nature, right? Just start with getting out there without, and this is a big one, without the headphones.
Exactly. Yeah. And even conversation. It's great to go out in the woods with somebody, but then at least have some part of that hike or ski or, where you just stop and open and listen. We're often walking through life with kind of a narrow field of vision. where we're walking, what I'm thinking about, but to actually just pull your attention back, almost like behind the eyeballs, behind the head, and observe life from back here. So then when you're hiking, or if sitting on a rock and on the wood, in the woods somewhere, just allow this to happen. A lot of people, go into the woods or hiking, and they want to work something out in their head, and they're up in here. But a lot of times the beautiful insight comes in when we're in this broad peripheral view of the world. We can see the horizon of what's ahead, or just sense more clearly who we are.
It makes me think when we're out skiing, there's a place where there's a beautiful viewpoint, and you just, whether you need to stop or not, just stop.
Mm-hmm.
Go, just take it in, like you said, in silence. And I'm there, in my mind right now, feeling that expansiveness you're talking about. And it's reminding me that next time I'm out, to remember to do that, because it's a big part of why we go in nature. Because if we're out there just like you said, talking, because I noticed that this morning on my run, I usually run with a friend, and today I was running by myself, and I was like, oh, this is nice, just because it's just me, it's just nature, it's just the sunrise, it's the birds, and so we need both, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it even comes back to saying, hey, can we, if you're always with your boyfriend, or you're always with your kids, let's just take a moment of silence. Let's see, I don't know, I'll set a timer.
Good luck with kids. Yeah, although they can appreciate.
Yeah, I think so.
Mindfulness moments.
We are all human. That's right. So back to your meditation retreat. So how many days do you, because I know you've done them since I've known you, you've gone on a few.
Yeah, they're often 5 days. Some, I've done as many as 10. It's always a fantasy to do 30 days. I don't know if that will happen in this lifetime, but yeah. But yeah, they're usually 5 days. But I would say if somebody wanted to, experiment, I have so many friends that have said to me, I could never be quiet for 5 days, because they're silent retreats. And but I would say if someone is interested in experimenting with meditation retreat, to do a half day or a 1 day or a 2 day in the beginning. So, sometimes the idea of not talking for 5 days is really intimidating for some people. I love it. I just feel like every day goes deeper and deeper and deeper, and more. It's kind of interesting, because some of the retreats I've been to, they have anywhere from, say, 50 to 250 people, depending on who the teacher is. And even though you're walking and eating together in silence, I sometimes at the end of that feel closer to them than I feel with somebody I've been on vacation with for 5 days. It's like this.
Because you're recharged versus drained.
Yeah, it's recharged, but it's also, you drop into this field of the interconnectedness of everything, so.
Well, I've always wanted to do, like you said, and even just a 3-day retreat. And I like the idea of baby steps, because in my mind, oh, wow, 5 days. I mean, I could do it, but it seems daunting. So I like the idea of starting small, just like with anything, like with fasting. You don't start with a week, you start with a day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Working your way in, working your way up. I like that a lot. And I think, back to your mindfulness courses too, that's probably a good place to start with someone that's not been mindful, or not saying you're not mindful, but that hasn't been practicing, consciously practicing. Just
mm-hmm.
A lot of people are afraid of it. And I always say, just start with 1 minute. Start with a 5-minute, an app that just 1 minute, and then the next day 5 minutes. Doesn't have to be this 30-minute thing or this hour-long thing, because it's just biting off more than we can chew.
Yeah. And then if it's you're just trying to do the discipline thing, then it's easy to get kind of mean to yourself instead of just saying, because it can get intimidating. Well, I don't have time. I don't have time to do half an hour. But I often encourage people to just do a minute, 5 minutes, like you were saying. And then you can build yourself up several times a day. And then your nervous system starts to go, oh, I kind of like this. You recognize what stopping actually, like the benefits of stopping. So.
And I've been doing that lately. So I always morning meditate. And now I've been, just because with COVID and everything happening, like I'm home most of the time. So like 2 o'clock, instead of a nap, I'll just do a nice, and I'll even lay down for it, but maybe do a guided meditation. And it's better than a nap because I feel
Mm-hmm.
so recharged. And there's so many great apps. And then the other thing I do a lot of times, like if I do want it, like I don't want to miss that morning run, the sunrise run, I'll just in my car do a 1 minute app meditation on my app before I get out and run. And it's actually a timed 1 minute. And I'm like, wow, even that 1 minute felt so good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, I did. And then in my mind, I'm not like, I've done the thing I said I would do, which is meditate every day. Like, even if it's 1 minute, I'm like, okay, well,
Mm-hmm.
at least I did it. I can check it off my list, which goes back to
Yeah.
the mental part. But, we got to balance that because we have to love that mental part of us too, because that's our survival mechanism. And
Oh
that's
yeah.
what
Oh
makes
yeah.
us, happy in life. If we're just laying around all the time, as we know, then that's not exciting either.
The one thing that I would encourage everyone listening to do, and then this is I do it. I have all my students and clients. If you do nothing else, is to grow a taproot, get grounded, especially with the energies that are swirling around on our planet these days. And it's a simple visualization of having, if you go to your tailbone, just in front of your tailbone, and you grow a taproot down, 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 down into the earth, a nice, supple, flexible taproot. And, even if you spent a minute every morning cultivating that, that's what really establishes that deep root. Kind of the weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. That's the root.
I like that a lot. Like I was imagining that as you were saying it, and
Yeah.
it is. It just changes you in an instant. Like, oh,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
it wasn't in my body.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so I have a series of questions for you, and the first one is, what brings you the most joy?
Probably, well, there's always a list. The most joy probably being in nature, moving in nature. Yeah, anything related.
Nature related. Yeah, I know that about
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And is there something that has changed your life to get to where you are now? Like, was there something that kind of like an impetus that changed for you to be in such a beautiful, sweet space that you are in now?
Um, I'll say that's a really good question. One is, I'll just say I feel some sense of divine guidance. So like when I look back at my life, in the moments, some moments didn't feel like I was being divinely guided. But then when I look back, I said, I go, oh yeah, that like my path was laid out before me, even though I didn't know it. So I'll say that, was it subtle changes. And then, a bunch of years back, 2014 was a big year. Lots of what I call it my disintegration year, where my marriage ended and a business relationship ended very abruptly and very painfully. And I felt like that was a huge, I'll call it the opportunity to take a deep, deep dive into all of the things that were arising around that. And that even I can look back now and say, particularly my business partner, that she was the best teacher for me. Now I can look back and say, thank you, because it caused me to really take a deep, deep, deep dive. So, yeah.
It is so interesting. And that, I mean, I love how they say, like, as we get older, we get wiser, because you can look back on your life and say, oh wow, like if that hadn't happened and that hadn't happened, and even though it was painful in the moment, you look back from where you are now, which I know in your life you're feeling good, you're feeling happy, I mean, I'm friends with you, so you're feeling balanced. Of course, there's your ups and downs, but for the most part, I can see that in you. And so, like, to be able to look back and go, God, if that painful thing and that painful thing and that crazy thing hadn't happened, like, I wouldn't be who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. And what's something you're working on perfecting about you?
Um, Perfection's an interesting word. I feel like I'm always ever evolving. Probably I'll say trust and faith. Trust in, I feel like I am mostly trusting in the inherent abundance of the universe, but there's a part of me that still thinks she has to work really hard um, um, to make it happen. So I think for me to keep just like resting back into that inherent abundance and trusting that that is always there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good advice. We could all use a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And anything you're geeking out on lately?
In my latest, I'm always geeking on something. I'm kind of been very captivated lately with the polyvagal theory. It's a whole body of work around nervous system regulation. And so it's, comes out of the world of, I'll say, trauma and trauma resolution. So that's been my geeking. Yeah.
I know I've heard you talk about that, and I've actually heard other people. It seems like it's a subject that's come up a lot lately in my field anyway, of people talking about the vagal nerve and how that, yeah, like you said, regulates the whole system.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you have a favorite healthy food or supplement?
My latest favorite thing, and it's not a supplement per se, it's the practice of abhyanga. It comes out of the Ayurvedic. It's the oiling of the body. So it's using these very kind of nurturing oils based on my constitution. Have a bit of vata imbalance, and so it's just oiling your body, and I love it. I feel very I'll say juiced up, like it's been really good for my external skin, but inside I feel more juiced up. And, in these days of COVID, social distancing, lack of touch, I'm single. I don't, I'm not getting regular touch, and people aren't hugging. So it's kind of my way of like really giving myself that loving touch. So for me, that's like, it feels very healthy on many, many levels.
Very
Um,
nurturing. Yeah.
mm,
And how does one find out about Abhyanga? Can you just do an internet search?
yeah, I would say do an internet search. I love Banyan Botanicals. They have a lot of
Ooh.
videos of Ayurvedic practices, and I'm not sure I'm spelling Abhyanga correctly, but it might be ABI or ABYANGA, Abhyanga. Yeah.
And
So.
it's on Banyan Botanicals, probably on their website.
Mhm. Yeah, they've got a video on it too, like how to do it.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, I'm gonna look that up. I use lotion like every day, and I think about it after I get out of the shower. But the oil is even better. Do you do it at nighttime so you don't get your clothes all oily?
No, I actually do it. And so the way you do it, you can do it. I'll say the basic oiling is you do it in the morning. You oil yourself up. Sometimes I'll kind of loofah myself up first, then do the oil. And then I have a special special bathrobe that, because I know it at some point it'll get kind of that rancid oil smell. So then I wear that around. I go downstairs, I make my tea, and then I get in the shower and I shower off. And I don't use soap. I don't soap it off. I just let the water rinse. And
Ah,
and the trick in your hair, so you're supposed to oil your hair too, which I can't stand oily hair. But you put the shampoo in onto dry hair. And so, and then it'll wash out. So, yeah. So, but it's a great practice for
All right,
me.
I'm gonna look into that because see, you've given me so many great tips. And this one you've probably already said, but maybe there's one more thing. What do you do on a regular basis that you can't live without?
Probably moving in nature. Yeah. So whether it's hiking, biking, being on the river, skiing, yeah. Some sort of, I'll say or embodiment, something, so I love rolling around the floor, stretching, doing yoga, doing Feldenkrais work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting in the body.
People need to come and have a retreat with you, Regina. You do so many cool things.
Yeah. Well, that's coming. That's coming. I've been re-inspired with, I'll call it the synthesis of my life's work. I'm almost at 35 years of being in this work, and so and there's so many different realms that I've been dabbling with, and now it's like time to sort of not have them compartmentalized, but to come together in some kind of synthesis. So I love retreats. I offer craniosacral retreats, but I think offering all of these tools to people would be really, really awesome.
And we need it now more than ever. I mean, people are going to be coming out of this, we're in 2021 now, but like coming when there is time that we can get back together, people are going to need this stuff.
Yeah.
Like almost like, let's just reinvent ourselves and do these kind of things and like not go back to our old ways. I think it's time to just start fresh with everything.
Yeah, no, I agree. Everyone talks about getting back to normal, but I don't think it'll be healthy for our planet to go back to normal. This pause is a great reset for a lot of people. And, I know you've been diving in and doing your inner work, and it's really an opportunity for all of us to be taking a deep dive and shifting the things that are not working for us. And like, how can we come together as a healthier, more whole individual and community and planet. And yeah.
Totally agree with that. Yeah, let's just move forward with new tools and refresh. Hit the refresh button, right?
Yeah. Totally.
And okay, what else was I going to ask you? What were you put on this earth to do?
I'm doing it.
You are. Yeah, I totally feel that.
I'm doing it. Yeah. I feel really blessed to that I'll say this work found me at a young age. I was probably 19 when I was introduced to massage, and it was just, happenstance. I was working as a lifeguard on the Jersey Shore, and we exercised a lot. We were training, we had competitions. And so we were sore a lot of the time. And somebody bought a book and we started practicing on one another. So, and then some of the other people I worked with would say, "Oh, I want Regina to work on me." So it appeared that I had some talent for the work early on. So, so I been really blessed to have found this.
Yeah. And it found you. I
yeah, really did feel.
And you've already given us that great tip about checking in with ourselves and putting our hand on our heart. But is there one more tip you can give our listeners to, like, just today, if they want to start with one thing to start living better?
I always come back to this, probably one of my favorite quotes from a Rumi poem. He says, "Do you take regular visits to yourself?" And I would say, do that. Take a regular visit to yourself, to just like take a moment and just say, "How are you, Elaina? How are you, Regina? What's happening in my heart? What's happening? What am I longing for? What am I, yeah." So
I like that. Just asking the question, hello, what are you longing for? Just in taking a moment.
Yeah. How's your heart today? Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for doing this with me today. It's been so awesome. I know we could just talk and talk. And for anybody who wants to come to one of your retreats or have a session with you, what's the best way to get a hold of you and find out more about you?
Well, I have two websites. So one is my name, reginacallahan.com, and that's all my bodywork offerings, and the mindfulness coaching. And then I have stillmountainhealer.com, which is the School for Craniosacral Studies. There's some of the mindfulness offered on that also. So two different websites. Yeah, but pretty comprehensive.
And I'll be sure to put those in the notes so people can just click on the link.
Yeah.
Just follow-up question on that. If people wanted to do your mindfulness training, is that on the stillmountainhealer.com?
Yes. Yeah.
And do you do remote healing? I guess would be another question.
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah, I do some remote long distance craniosacral. I'll call it craniosacral. It's energy, working from the realm of craniosacral. But yeah, and that's also on the reginacallahan.com website there. Yeah.
So much.
And that work is very powerful also. It's, it's kind of, some people think of it as quite woo-woo, but there's a lot that you can access in that field when you're tuned into it. So,
yeah. I mean, really, honestly, what have you got to lose? If you're feeling stressed or you're feeling like you need some extra TLC, why not, give it a chance? And then, like they say, the proof is in the pudding, right?
yeah. Yeah. And my hands-on work in my office where it's, we have all the COVID protocols in place, with everything's getting cleansed and where I'm wearing a mask. Most of my clients wear masks. Sometimes I end up doing work inside the mouth and it'll come off for that. But, if somebody can stand having a mask on for a session, then, and my clients are fine coming in that way. So, yeah.
So if you're in the basically Central Oregon area, Bend, Oregon, and or anywhere surrounding, you can get an in-person, which I highly recommend.
And the best way to get in touch with me is either phone, text, or voicemail. Sometimes I miss emails because I get so many emails, but so best way is text or phone message.
So we'll put your business number in in the links too.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Awesome, Regina. Thanks so much for joining me today. And for everybody listening, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank you so much, Elaina. I appreciate you. Yeah.